Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I want to start with a video/audio of the Kansas City mayor saying that the word thug is a dog whistle. Let's go ahead and roll this audio, Gabe, and then I'm going to respond to it. Por favor.
He's going to join us later on in this program. After the shooting, he said, we can't let some thugs and criminals just take over and ruin what happened. I gather that's not quite your assessment of what happened that day.
I have respect for the governor. We get along well. I disagree strongly with how he would describe that situation. I certainly do think this was criminal activity. It was lawlessness, and I think that that's troubling. But thugs is a dog whistle in the most classic sense. And I have seen this dog whistle time and again. There's this kind of giant conservative theory on social media now that the reason that mugshots haven't been shown is because the purported defendants are black. And if it were a white defendant, we would have just shown them. That is absolutely preposterous. There are protections to juveniles. Our city has a gun violence problem.
No, your city doesn't have a gun violence problem, Mayor. Your city has a mayoral, and it has a leadership problem. Guys, let's see. If the word thug was a dog whistle, we wouldn't have been singing Thug Life in the 90s with Tupac Shakur. This is absolute nonsense. If you want to be safe from violence, here's what you don't do. You don't move to cities where black progressives run them, like this mayor of Kansas City. Can we just be real? Can we just be honest? If you're living under Mayor Eric Adams, if you're living under Mayor Brandon Johnson, let's not go to those mayors. Now, white liberal progressives are bad enough, but and then you get these black progressives that, in my opinion, are even worse, because if you mention anything concerning race, they make it a whole racial issue so that they can't be held accountable for their crappy policies that are getting people killed. That's exactly what happened in Kansas City. These are thugs, they're criminals, they're punks, they're bullies, all right? We can call them any name we want to because they're freaking criminals, and they don't deserve respect. It's as simple as that. Guys, I'm telling you right now, we cannot let the left win the language war, and that's exactly what this crappy mayor of Kansas City is trying to do. Democrats have been running the city of Kansas City for God knows how long, and it's going down the tubes. Every blue city around the United States that Democrats run, that progressives run, are going down the tubes. And it's always a racial issue. It's always a gun violence issue. Well, if it's a gun violence issue, how come you can go to red cities, red counties, red states, and those the same type of murder rates don't exist? The only places you find these high murder rates, for the most part, with the exception, I think, of like Indiana or something like that, or in these blue cities, even if they exist within red states. This guy is a phony and a fraud. The word thug is not a whistle, not a dog whistle. These guys will say anything. They will say absolutely anything to absolve themselves for responsibility from their policies. All right, so hold this guy accountable. Hopefully this guy loses in the next election. I doubt it, honestly, though, because Kansas City, you guys have been voting Democrat for a long time. If you want the crime to slow down in Kansas City, you're going to have to vote for somebody that actually cares about law and order instead of protecting criminals and blaming you for using so-called dog whistles. Okay, moving on from that. Guys, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. We are on Apple, we're on Google, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, and we are on Rumble. And by the way, part of today's show, at least the latter part of today's show, you're going to have to listen to exclusively, more than likely, on Rumble, because we're going to have to talk about the jab. We're going to have to talk about some adverse effects for those of you that have had the jab, and we're going to talk about retribution for you and what you're going to have to do to get any type of retribution. And I would suggest that you call frontline doctors or get in contact with any groups that Dr. Peter McCullough or some of these doctors, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, any other doctors that were actually fighting and speaking the truth during COVID. Try to connect with them online or figure out where they're at online or their websites, and figure out places you can go for treatment that you can trust if you've gotten the jab. Guys, it's very important that you try to change the the structure or the restructuring of your DNA, seemingly, that this jab has done. I'm probably wording that incorrectly, but anyway, I'll go through the column. You'll get the gist. I'm not an expert on this stuff. All I know is that jabs are bad. Everything that I've been reading about these things, not good. Anyway, I won't go too far down this rabbit hole right now. We'll talk about it a little later in the podcast. The Epic Times came out with just a damning column the other day. Have not been able to get to it. I do want to get to that today, but I got plenty to get to before that, guys. Primarily, what I'm going to be focusing on is the disappearing Democratic coalition from the Biden administration. I'll give you some of today's news, and I'll explain to you exactly why that coalition is disappearing. However, I do not want you to rest on your laurels. If you're a Republican, you're a constitutionalist, you're a conservative, do not rest on your laurels. Don't take this election season for granted. This is not going to be a runaway election. I did the podcast last week. I hope you caught it. If not, go back and listen to it. The 13 key issues that decide presidential elections. A historian by the name of Alan Lichtman has been correctly predicting the outcomes of presidential elections for 40 years straight. He's been right every single time, and it's whoever wins the most of these 13 key issues. Believe it or not, currently Biden is ahead with five of those out of the 13 current issues. Trump has accounts for 3 of those issues, and the guy says that he won't predict the outcome of this election until after August, after the conventions have taken place, and then he'll go ahead and predict the upcoming election. But listen, polls and all this kind of stuff, this guy has been right, all right? Regardless of the polls, this guy has been right. He says he just takes his feelings out of it. This is based upon these 13 key issues. He also uses like an insane mathematician to help him figure out his numbers, and he's been right every single presidential election since 1984. All right, he's predicted correctly. So anyway, I shared that in the podcast last week. But this is why I say don't rest on your laurels. Let me just bring you a few news items that are in the news today. All right, so this one is relatively obvious. So Biden weighs additional sanctions when it comes to Russia following the opposition leader Alexei Navalny's death in prison. This, according to the Washington Times. Biden said yesterday that his administration, Monday, is considering new sanctions on Moscow over the death of jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny. He says, Biden did, we already have sanctions, but we are considering additional sanctions. Yes, Mr. Biden told this to reporters as he arrived at the White House after a weekend in Delaware. Man, remember he was scolding Republicans for taking off for vacation? This guy goes on vacation literally every weekend. Navalny died in an Arctic prison on Friday, a week before the 2-year mark of Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Biden's comments follow increasing calls for fresh sanctions by several European Union countries, including Germany, following Navalny's death. Why don't they apply the sanctions? You ever wonder that? Why do these NATO countries always rely on us to start it? Now, I understand that I do believe that America is the greatest country in the world. And with that comes a greater level of responsibility. That doesn't mean that we should be taken advantage of. That doesn't mean that these European NATO allies, they shouldn't pay up. You know, I think that was Trump's argument the other day. Basically, once he got into office, he made them pony up. If they wanted protection, we're not going to go to war for them if they're not willing to have any skin in the game. It's as simple as that, guys. It's as simple as that. We shouldn't go to war for a bunch of European wokesters who don't want any skin in the game, that are allowing Islamists to cross into their countries like nobody's business. I mean, like, it's absolutely insane. So he was right about that. Russian critics of Putin respond to Alexei Navalny's death. That's basically more of the same. But the sad truth is, this, according to the Wall Street Journal, is that Alexei Navalny's death last week, a murder in prison by any other name, has at least for now advanced Vladimir Putin's autocratic interests by removing a main focus of domestic opposition. Yet the political assassination is also exposing the illegitimacy of Mr. Putin's rule, as ordinary Russians take personal risks to honor Navalny's memory. Some 400 people were detained detained across Russia over the weekend for participating in rallies commemorating the Putin opponent and anti-corruption activists. This is the largest display of open defiance to the Kremlin since protests against Mr. Putin's Ukraine invasion in 2022. Guys, when these people protest, it could be a life or death scenario. These people are brave. When it comes to BLM, when it comes to Antifa, all these type of people that are able to get away with destroying your cities and protesting, they're not brave. Republicans, conservatives are brave to this date if you protest in the United States of America, because you may end up behind bars like a J6er who, gets charged for a misdemeanor and ends up spending a year, 5 years, 10 years, 22 years behind bars. Absolutely insane. All right, so here's I just played for you the audio of that Kansas City mayor. His name is Quentin Lucas, by the way. Sounds like a really smart guy, but he's a progressive, so that means he hasn't fully thought his positions through. That's what it means, ultimately. These guys can be book smart, but they absolutely have no common sense. I'm sorry, if you want to get rid of criminals, you should do everything you can to stop criminals, and that includes mocking them, shaming them, demeaning them, so that people understand it's not a good thing to be a thug. It's not a good thing to be a criminal. Stop racializing everything. But that's all the left has. All they have is racializing everything or making people mad so that they can get your vote. That's what all of this stuff is about. All right, what else is worthy of talking about? Democrats do not believe Biden is handling border crisis well. No crap, Kremlock. And of course they did. They're only saying that now because we're in the middle of an election season. Listen to this. The Biden administration, and this goes along with my point. I'm getting ready to talk about this, but what we're focusing on today, we're going to focus on two things, and mainly, I'll give you some of the headlines, but we're going to focus on two things mainly, and that is Biden's disappearing Democratic coalition. And what if you got that, that, all right, I'm not even going to say it anymore because I don't want to be cut off. What do you do now? What do you do now? There's some things that you have to do. You have to be politically active to make sure this doesn't happen to yourself or any other American ever. And you need to go online and you need to reach out to some of these doctors that are trying to offer help to people that have gotten that. I'm hoping you're hearing that over the microphone. All right. So just to be on the safe side, not everybody that got that, all right, is in danger, but a lot of people are. All right, so we're going to talk about some of those adverse effects. So Biden is upset with the media coverage for the Biden administration, is upset with media for coverage on his age and his mental competency. In other words, they want you to shut up and be quiet. They don't want you to know that your president is too old, that he's mentally incapable of being the president of the United States. And so the Biden administration wants them to shut up about it, despite your lying eyes. They, don't believe your lying eyes, right? Everybody can see that the guy is deteriorating right before our eyes, but the media doesn't want you, or the Biden administration doesn't want the media to report on it. Guys, this is 1984. And you already know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But listen, that it is what it is. And then I'll offer this story. I spoke about this yesterday on Officer Tatum Stroh, but San Francisco Elections Commissions appoints Hong Kong non-citizen immigrant, so an illegal alien, has just become part of the election board in San Francisco. British hospital claims that trans female milk is just as good as biological female milk. We'll touch on that for a few minutes in the podcast as well. We live in a sick world. We live in a dark world. And one of the things, actually, the thing that we have to hold on to the most is truth. All right. Men can't be women. Women can't be men. We've got to be willing to tell the truth, come what may. Before we get to all of this, I have some more video that I want to show you. All right. And I'll ping off of these videos to some of the stories that I have in my hand. I've got some headlines that I'm going to go through relatively quickly here, and that is, media admit that Joe Biden is involved in a Americorps deal. Man, isn't that suspicious? Like, all of a sudden, political espionage campaign targeted Trump-Russia collusion tell, a WMD-style story, according to some journalists. All right, we'll talk about that briefly. Basically, I talked about it somewhat. The CIA was involved in the Russia collusion hoax. They actually started the Russia collusion hoax. I'm hoping to get George Papadopoulos on the podcast this week or next week to talk about this and his involvement and his wife's involvement in that. So we'll try to make that happen. All right, I just read this headline. DW, this is sick, British. This is sick. This is according to Daily Wire. Again, British hospitals say milk from man is equal to mother's breast milk for babies. This is just absolutely insane. And Biden's disappearing Democratic coalition. Before I get to that, let's just sound off on these videos, because I want you to be aware of what's happening. I want you to understand what's at stake. And if you're listening to this show, you do. I want to be a happy show. I want to be a positive show. And I think that we can turn this ship around. Even though at times, I must admit, I grow. I'm human. I get discouraged, just like I'm sure many of you do. But I believe that we can turn this country around with the help of God Almighty. I don't know that it'll ever be the country that it ever was. It certainly will not be in one election cycle, even 2, 3, or 4, in my opinion. This is going to take generational change. This is going to take a nation that is willing to repent before God and turn around. It's going to take people that love America, that love God, family, country, infiltrating every institution like the left has to restore American history, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to restore our Judeo-Christian heritage, understanding that men and women are not perfect, but we serve a God that is. All right, so it's going to take a lot of work. Having said that, I want to talk about these soldiers that are coming across our border. Soldiers? What are you talking about? Gabe, let's get those videos ready. Do you have those videos ready? I want you to see, this is the first video. I just want you, we don't even, how long does this thing run? I think it runs a little long. Anyway, but I want you to take a look at these men, and then I'm going to ask you a question. I do see a woman in the crowd. One woman here, one woman there, going once, going twice, one child there, blah blah blah. Oh, maybe a second woman there. All right, but we're gonna graze over. I've been watching Mika model auctions too much. All right, so let's graze over. Or this camera shot, this group of people, this group of unlawful migrants coming into the United States, and tell me what you see. I want you to watch this video. Please subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and on Rumble, guys. It is going to be. I love YouTube, even though it's Commyville. But still, we need to be there if we can. But also Rumble. Rumble is a safe place. We don't have to worry about being censored on Rumble. So make sure you subscribe to our podcast, The Carl Jackson Show on Rumble, and make sure you review it. Make sure you share it as well. But Gabe, let's go ahead and roll this video. Just look at the camera shot. Bill Melugin of Fox News had a sobering comment. It's nothing that I haven't said before, but when you put this thought to picture, to video, man, it's a sober reminder that I'll share in just a sec. Gabe, roll it, por favor. What do you see? What do you see? For those of you that are watching. 1, 2, 3. Okay. What do you see? I'm just being quiet. I'm hoping you're going to go and watch the video. But I want you to just take a... actually, never mind, because I'm getting ready to tell you. You saw a few women in that crowd, but you saw the vast majority of those men are traveling without families. Why? Why? Guys, brace yourself for the colonization of the United States of America. These guys are foot soldiers. These guys are foot soldiers. They're not coming here to obey American laws. Otherwise, they would have come through our borders legally. They would have went the legal route. They didn't do that. These guys are not assimilating. These people are not assimilating. These people don't believe. Therefore, they don't believe that America, the United States, is sovereign. And they believe that they're entitled to all of the goodies that are here. Thanks to the left. Thanks to the Biden administration. Thanks to Democrats. Now, having said that, I want to play another video for you. New York Police Department have been attacked. New York Police Department officers have been attacked yet again by some illegal aliens that they're housing in New York City. I want to roll the video of that, and then I'm gonna comment on that. Go ahead and roll the video, por favor, Gabe. Oh, The black woman gets the chair in the head. She wasn't ready for that. Thank God she didn't go down. Frankly, I know you're going to call me sexist. I don't care. I don't think a female police should be in there. Police officer should be in there. Look at it. Yeah. These people are going to respect the United States and obey our laws. Yeah. Guys, what did I tell you? Basically, you can go ahead and cut it, Gabe. You can go ahead and cut it. Throwing chairs at the New York Police Department. They have to be scared that people are going to come up, sneak behind them, and beat them up. This is what they're concerned about. They've got weak leadership in the state of New York and in New York City with the nanny of New York, Governor Hochul, and also with Mayor Eric Adams of New York City. Guys, a complete and utter disaster. More people are starting to realize it. His poll numbers are so horrible. But you know what? There are a bunch of lefties in New York, so I guarantee they're going to vote for him again. They're not going to stop voting for Democrats in places like this until crime gets so out of control that that something finally clicks. Some of these councilmen, I hate to say it, but it's true. Some of these councilmen, some of these people in leadership are probably going to have to be the victims of their own policies before they have a let's say an illuminating experience and say, or a wake up call. Oh my God, maybe these policies are. These people are totally disconnected. The left are. They're totally disconnected from reality. But I'm telling you, what you have coming across the border are foot soldiers. We're worried about these Chinese men that are coming across the border, military age. We should be worried about every single one of these ethnic groups that are coming across our border or coming into our country illegally, when a great majority of the people coming through our borders are men, single men. Why? That's scary. That's scary. All right. Anyway, let's move on from that real quick. Let's get to Joe Manchin, and then I'll explain why all of a sudden Joe Biden is concerned in his administration about the media all of a sudden willing to talk about Joe Biden's age more and more, willing to talk about his mental decline more and more. And I'll explain to you why that's starting to occur. All right, let's go ahead. This is the video of Senator Joe Manchin talking about we have a border crisis. He has decided that he is going to walk away. Technically, he is not going to run as an independent on a third-party ticket. Here he is on CNN. Let's go ahead and roll the tape, por favor, Gabe.
Also said that in a president, you're looking for someone, and you said who has the knowledge, has the function, and has the ability to do that just there, to bring this country together. Is Joe Biden that candidate?
Well, that's the Joe Biden I used to know. I mean, I've had this conversation with him and with his people that he's gone too far to the left. They've pushed him and pulled him and whatever, but that's not where America is. That's not where our country is. So I'm hoping the Joe Biden that we saw in 2020 will be the Joe Biden we see in 2024, if that can be done. If not, it's going to be a long road for everybody.
Are you going to endorse President Biden?
I'm not endorsing anybody right now. We're going to see what all happens. We still got plenty of time here. I'm going to do everything I can to help move them back to the middle and show them where the strength of this country lies, where the voting bloc of the country lies. And the extremes are going to be there no matter what. And I respect that. And I will do everything I can to make sure they have the ability to voice their opinion.
What does it
but
say?
The minority does not rule the day.
What does it say that you're not endorsing President Biden? What should people read into that?
No. I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure that we have a pathway forward where the center of this country is going to be represented, and that's the center left and center right. That's where the decisions, that's where people live their lives. That's the type of government they want. They don't want the extremes, and what we're seeing is extremes. Donald Trump is an extremist, and with that, there's people that are going in that direction. I still believe there's enough good Republicans and Democrats that want this centrist type of approach to governing.
If it is President Biden and former President Trump on the ticket in November, what will you do?
Well, we'll just have to see what happens. It's a long time before that happens right now. There might be other people getting in. There's still independents. You might have still a third-party run from no labels, and we'll just see what opportunities and what type of options you have. All of us should be looking for that, and then make the decision at that time.
The New York Times.
All right, so no labels is so silly. The fact that they say no labels means that they're a label. It's such idiocy. And honestly, what they should stop doing is attacking candidates per se and just share ideas. All right, these are the ideas we have. When you say you're in the center of what? The country has gone so far left. I don't know what the center means. I really don't anymore. Whether it's center right, center left, I don't know that I know what that means. Donald Trump is an extreme. How is he an extremist? What? Because he wants the rule of law? Because he respected life when he was in the presidency? Because he wants free speech? Because he doesn't want to weaponize DOJ? How is he extremist? Because he wants fair trade? I don't get that. Energy independence, a strong military. What's extreme about that? It's what I can't stand about Joe Manchin. Frankly, there was a split second where I felt like Joe Manchin fooled me, and that's where and I was even skeptical of it then. But I can't even remember the fight now before he ended up caving to the left. But he was standing in the gap. Kirsten Sinema was standing in the gap. I don't even remember the issue. And I was like, oh, my God. OK, this guy. Remember, people were traveling out to his houseboat to, attack him, lefties, yell at him and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, man, this guy's standing strong. And then all of a sudden he caves. I think it was basically the Green New Deal. Joe Biden's Green New Deal. He ended up caving. And then all of the negotiations that he had with Chuck U. Schumer, hat tip to Rush Limbaugh, and the left just totally disappeared. It was absolutely insane. It was so fake. He got played like a violin, and I didn't respect him before then, and then I gained a little respect because I was like, this guy has a spine, and then you realize he was going to cave all along. So anyway, that's that. Now, we can save this video because I want to get to this story, so if we'll just hold that one on the line. Now, I talked to you about, or I share with you the headline just real quick, and I'll remind you quickly if I can go back there. I'm going to have to refresh because my laptop has died, at least on this particular issue. All right, but so here's the thing. Let me go back to, where was it? What am I looking for? I had a brain freeze that quick. Oh, yeah. The Biden administration. This according to National Review. All right, so I touched on this earlier. Let me go back and hone on this real quick. The Biden administration is upset with media for coverage on age and mental competency. Okay, so that's in the news today. Obviously, more and more people are getting upset about this. Let me read to you some more headlines. Media admit that Joe Biden is involved in an AmeriCorps deal with his brother James. So you have that headline. All of a sudden, you have these headlines that are starting to come out that are starting to be critical of Joe Biden. Why? All of a sudden, they were protecting this guy forever. Now, all of a sudden, all of these headlines are starting to be, and I had some more, and unfortunately, I didn't bring them in the studio with me, but more headlines that are, they're starting to bash, the left is starting to bash Joe Biden. Mainstream media is starting to bash Joe Biden. It was Politico that reported that Joe Biden was involved in his deal, this AmeriCorps deal with his brother James. Hat tip. This particular story is from Breitbart, but it's a summation of what was written on Politico. So Politico national political correspondent Ben Schreckinger, I'm probably butchering that, so forgive me, admitted Sunday that Joe Biden was involved with James Biden and the family's lucrative AmeriCorps deal. All right, the article appears to contradict Politico reporting in October. In just October, Politico said there's no smoking gun that exists that proves any Biden family wrongdoing. Politico, a publication that tried to dismiss the Hunter Biden laptop story as well, typically works to suppress the Biden business scandal. So why are they coming out now and saying, whoa, Biden was involved with this deal with his brother in AmeriCorps? The outlet reviewed information that shows that Joe Biden's name and inner circle were more involved with the company than has been understood. Here's what Schreckinger, whatever, however you pronounce his name, acknowledged. Quote, the investigation also reveals that Joe Biden's name and inner circle were more involved with the company than has been understood. In addition, To the accounts provided by former executives, investor materials describe Jim Biden as an advisor to his older brother. And on top of Joe Biden's own previously reported encounter with the firm's CEO, at least 3 of Joe Biden's relatives did work with AmeriCorps. They include Jim Biden's wife, Sarah, and his son, Jamie. The president's son, Hunter Biden, also met with the CEO and his personal doctor, current White House physician Kevin O'Connor. Wow, how convenient. He joined a meeting with Jim Biden and Joe Biden of a hospital being acquired by AmeriCorps, according to a former executive, and emails that were obtained by Politico. When were these emails obtained, I wonder? Because you had the House Oversight Committee that's been investigating this stuff for years, and they came out with a damning report. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer did back in, 5-6 months ago, alleging this $200,000 check that landed in Joe Biden's bank account. I think it was the very day that James Biden got a payoff of $600,000 from AmeriCorps. It's pretty astonishing. It's pretty astonishing how these guys are able to save these businesses that are collapsing, but yet they don't save the businesses that are collapsing. They continue to collapse, and during their collapse, the Biden family, the brothers, seem to get a payoff. I wonder how that's possible. Anyway, so Politico is now writing about what you and I have known for several months, at the very least, since the House Oversight Committee has been talking about it for at least 6 months. But now Politico somehow just discovered this story. They obtained emails. I've got a feeling that Politico obtained emails years ago, and they've been sitting on them because why not? They don't care. You can't trust any of the mainstream media. That's why you come to places like this. That's why independent voices are becoming more and more important in the United States of America, because these people have no courage. They're a bunch of lemmings at Politico. All right, that's all you need to know. But these headlines, what I want to bring attention to are these headlines that are starting to pop up. Again, the mainstream media is starting to question Joe Biden's age, starting to question his mental capacity. Why are they doing that? Okay, hat tip New York Post, the disappearing Democratic coalition. I spoke about this briefly on the officer, actually, more in depth probably, but I'll speak about it now. As well. The disappearing Democratic coalition. This is a guy, he's on the left, but I do respect his writing. He does a good job. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I say that every time I mention one of his columns, but it's Roy, either Rye or Rui Teixeira, R-U-Y. All right, is how you spell his first name, Teixeira. He worked with the Obama administration. He was the one that developed the plan. He and another gentleman that Obama, should abandon the white vote basically and go after Latinos and all that kind of stuff. And then he reneged on that after he saw that Latinos started to turn towards Trump, and he was like, man, I got it wrong. Because what he didn't consider, their religion. So anyway, things started changing. But here's the problem. There's the latest RCP running averages. This is as of a week ago, but I checked them out just yesterday, and the numbers are basically the same. All right, so when it comes to Biden-Trump matchups, here's the problem that the left is running into, and this is why they're willing to they want to throw Joe Biden under the bus so bad. They want to make him resign. The problem is, and there's a headline out today on Daily Wire, and it shouldn't shock any of us, the problem with Joe Biden leaving, and the reason why Joe Biden is running for a second term is because of Jill Biden. She loves the power, and why wouldn't she? This lady is being treated like a queen, and she doesn't deserve it. I don't even know why she has a doctor in front of her name, but she doesn't deserve it. Doctorate of philosophy or whatever, education, whatever, she doesn't deserve it. All right. I don't think the lady's that bright. Nonetheless, it is what it is. All right. So here's the thing. The latest running averages, Biden is behind Trump in Arizona in swing states, 4.5 points in Arizona. He's behind 7 points in Georgia. And the current polls as they exist today, we've got a long time before the election. So I'm not sitting here trying to be a cheerleader and saying we're gonna win by huge numbers in 2024. I will never say that again, and I don't believe that in the first place. I'm not sure that we'll win the Senate. I'm not sure that we'll win the House. It's going to take literally all hands on deck in order to win this election cycle, all right, and to get Trump back in the White House. So just keep that in mind. But I'm just sharing with you the polls as they exist today. But also keep in mind those indicators of that guy, Alan Lichtman, that has predicted presidencies accurately for the last 40 years. And right now, Right now, on the 13 key issues, Trump is behind. So keep that in mind. That can change, but Biden is ahead on 5 of them. Trump is ahead on 3 of those issues. And then you have another 5 that remain neutral. Whoever wins the most out of those 13, usually key issues ends up in the White House, or they have for 40 years. So just keep that in mind. All right, so here are the areas where there was an NBC poll that revealed where Trump leads Biden on several key issues. When it comes to securing the border, Trump has a 35-point advantage over Joe Biden. When it comes to having the necessary mental and physical health to be president, Trump has a 23-point advantage. Dealing with the economy, he has a 22-point advantage. That's the biggest advantage for a candidate on the economy going all the way back to 1992. That's Bill Clinton territory. All right. Dealing with crime and violence, Trump has a 21-point advantage over Joe Biden. Being competent and effective, Trump has a 16-point advantage over Biden. Improving America's standing in the world, Trump has an 11-point advantage. Remember what I started off the show with some of the news when it comes to Russia, right? When it comes to Russia, Gabe, stop it real quick. I gotta answer this. Hey, Rich, I'll be there in an hour. See ya. All right. So when it comes to, I'm sorry, Gabe. When it comes to Russia, remember what I was saying towards the beginning of the podcast. Let me go back to this real quickly here. Just the two headlines, because Trump has this advantage on foreign policy. Remember, one of the headlines: Biden weighs additional sanctions on Russia following opposition leader Alexei Navalny's death in prison. No, Biden doesn't have credibility. The world has been a crap show since this guy has been in office. It's been an absolute crap show. All right. If he really wanted to impose sanctions on Russia, you know what he would start doing? He would start drilling, and he's not willing to do that. We would drill for oil. We would become energy independent. As a matter of fact, what we did was we emboldened Russia when we cut off our own arms when it came to energy independence. We shut down the Keystone XL pipeline. We hurt ourselves tremendously. Russia, our NATO allies, were buying oil, and I believe they still are, from Russia because they had to, because we stopped importing so much oil. And then we have to go and beg for oil. We went and begged for oil from some of our adversaries. And then later that didn't work out. It was with Iran. And then later that didn't work out. We have to go back and kiss Saudi Arabia's feet. And they were like, screw you. I mean, this guy has been he's been an absolute disaster. The world was in a much better place. Foreign policy was when Trump was in office, and more Americans are recognizing this. The only place that Biden had an advantage was protecting democracy. Actually, 2 places. I'm sorry. And I got this one wrong last night on the issue of abortion. A 12-point advantage on the issue of protecting democracy, a 2-point advantage. And frankly, the only reason why Democrats have an advantage on abortion is because Republicans don't know how to message it, and they're too scared. Democrats are the extremists, and instead of answering the left's questions, Republicans need to put Democrats on the hot seat. When they say something about being extreme, you just say something like, let me get this straight. You mean a baby could be in the mother's womb 6 months, 8 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. The mother could have already named the baby, and then she decides all of a sudden, excuse me, I want to kill that baby. You mean to tell me that isn't a baby? What about the ladies that have premature babies? I mean, just put them on defense. Don't answer any of their questions. Force them to answer yours. And when they're forced to answer, they can't. All right. But anyway, let me move on. But this is what's happening. This is why you're starting to hear these stories. These stories are starting to leak out. Media admit that Joe Biden is involved in this AmeriCorps deal. Oh, you mean you now realize that Joe Biden is corrupt? I mean, you didn't investigate the laptop that had all the answers that you needed there. You didn't listen to Tony Bobulinski, a partner of Hunter Biden, when he said that Joe Biden was the big guy. All of a sudden, you realize this AmeriCorps deal is legit. When did you realize that? When did you get the emails, Politico? I suspect you got them when everyone else did. Man, just disgusting, man. Just disgusting. The media is dead in this country besides independent journalism. All right. Biden and the Democrats, according to Rai Teixeira, only have two choices. One, they can concentrate on voter mobilization, that's get out the vote efforts to make up these deficits that they're seeing against Trump, or they can concentrate on reducing these deficits through persuasion. But he writes, naturally, these approaches are not mutually exclusive, but it's important which one gets the greater weight. He says we can look at data on the Democrat sympathetic voter groups to assess the potential of the mobilization approach. What jumps out from looking at this data is that Democrats' core support in these groups has been going steadily down. Now, I have to offer a word of caution. Remember, we showed you the video at the beginning of the podcast, or for those of you that are listening, of the illegal aliens that are just bombarding, that are invading our country. So Democrats understand that they're losing their base, but they also believe that they're replenishing their base by allowing all of these illegal aliens to come into the country. And a lot of you are being fooled. Listen, I just got to be real with you on the conservative side. If you think, I don't care who's in the White House, if you think we're going to kick out all these illegal aliens, you're smoking something. I know you want to believe the best of everyone, including Trump, but if you think he's facing opposition now, hold on to your drizzles because it's going to be even more intensified if he does win back the White House. And he does need to win back the White House. All right, because we need to start reestablishing a platform for freedom in the United States of America. We don't even have that at this point. All right. With the exception of Lord willing, the House staying strong on some issues, but they haven't given me much confidence. So even though you're hearing these numbers, and please understand, the left they want to throw Biden under the bus because these numbers terrify them. At the same token, they have a CYA plan, which is bring in more illegal immigrants. All right, so this is according to Pew, Biden approval rating. This is concerning all Hispanics, Latinos. I hate the word Hispanic. All right, 32% approval, 65% disapproval among Latinos, among working class non-college Latinos. 30% approved, 67% disapprove. This according to Gallup. This is a party ID trend. This is all Latinos. 12-point net Democratic advantage on lean party ID. That means 12-point advantage for Democrats with Latinos leaning Democrat. Here's the problem. This is down 19 points from its recent high in 2021, according to Gallup. And it's the lowest net advantage for the Democrats among Latinos since Gallup started interviewing in Spanish in 2011. Now, this is called a split ticket Biden-Trump cross-tabulator average among all Latinos. Biden holds a 10-point average advantage over Trump. The problem with this is 13 points down, all right, from Biden's margin over Trump among Latinos in the 2020 election, which in turn was 16 points down from the Democratic margin in 2016. This according to Catalyst data. So Democrats keep losing Latino votes. Now, I want you to understand there's a difference between Latino and black vote. I'm going to get to the black vote real quick. All right, but there's a difference between Latino and black vote. All right, the Latino vote went to Trump. More votes went to Trump. More Latino votes went to Trump. More Latinos said, all right, the Democrat Party has gone too far. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. Okay? I want you to understand that. That is not the same. That is not the same with the black vote. The black vote, it's different. And a lot of Trumpsters don't get this. They don't understand that. I appreciate the work like Officer Tatum, Candace Owens, and many black activists are doing within the black community or online to attract more black voters. And I think they are winning the hearts and minds of some and a newer generation. But it's going to be much slower than a lot of people, anticipate and believe. You're not going to win 30 or 40% of the vote like a lot of people are predicting they vote for Trump. They see these rap videos, they get all excited. Oh, look at the youth. And these are the same people that were rapping for Trump 4 years ago. All right. And so his numbers went up from 8 points to 12 points among black voters. So let me give you but let me tell you, but still, having cautioned you there, let me give you the numbers. All right. So when it comes to black polling, this according to Pew, This is among all blacks, 48% approval, 49% disapproval when it comes to Joe Biden. When it comes to working class, non-college educated blacks, he's got a 45% approval, a 52% disapproval. This is unheard of. When it comes to black adults under the age of 50, Biden has a 35% approval, a 64% disapproval. All right, so not doing good. Now, this is according to Gallup. That was Pew that I just mentioned. Pew polling. This is Gallup polling. Amongst all blacks, Biden has a 47-point net Democratic advantage on lean party ID, but this is down 19 points from its recent high in 2020. This is also the lowest net advantage for the Democrats recorded by Gallup in its polling going all the way back to 1999. All right. Now, split ticket, Biden, Trump, cross tabulator average, all blacks. Biden has a 57-point average, and he has that advantage over Trump. And now what the column argues is that this may seem high, but it's actually 24 points down from Biden's margin over Trump among blacks in the 2020 election. So here's where the mistake is coming in. A lot of people see these numbers and they say, okay, these blacks are going to go to Trump. That's not how the black vote works, guys. I wish it were true. There's got to be so much work that's done in the culture, in churches, and in academia to get votes, to get blacks to vote biblically, to vote conservatively. It's not going to happen with politics alone. I mean, it's a cultural war. It's we've got to take over these institutions again. I'm talking about the arts. I'm talking about academia. When it comes to church, we've got to connect the dots between the biblical worldview in politics. Not saying that you align with a political party, but it should be pretty clear where Christians stand on issues like, let's say, abortion. If you claim the name of Christ, I don't care if you're Latino, white, Asian, black, everybody should have the same view if you call yourself a Christian on being pro-life. All right, there should be no differentiation in the church, but sadly there is, and that's because the church has been co-opted by many communists or communist-leaning people who may not even realize they are communists, frankly. All right, now I mentioned this. And then here's another thing. To underscore the data on black and Latino working class, here's a recent chart from the Financial Times from this article from Rai Teixeira. This is youth 18 to 29 years old, Pew Biden approval rating, all youth, 27% approval, 71% disapproval when it comes to Joe Biden. That's scary. That's why you're hearing all of this stuff about Joe Biden all of a sudden. All youth, 8-point net Democratic advantage on lean party ID. This is down 15 points from its recent high in 2019 and is the lowest net advantage for the Democrats among youth since 2005. All youth, the split ticket Biden Trump cross tabular average, all youth 13-point average Biden advantage over Trump. This is 10 points down now from Biden's margin over Trump among youth in the 2020 election. All of this suggests that Democrats need to put on their persuasion hat, Teixeira writes, and vanquish the thought that they can rely on bringing their loyal foot soldiers to the poll. There just aren't as many of them as there used to be. So here's where Trump can win. And actually, this goes on. It talks about issues such as canceling student debt and EVs and how people feel on that. And that's not going as well for the left as they had hoped. But this is what you can expect. I suspect, and obviously I can be wrong because I have plenty of times before when it's come to elections, but I suspect that you're going to get a depressed vote when it comes to the black population. I don't believe that the black vote that may abandon Joe Biden necessarily goes to Trump. That's what a lot of other people believe that are saying 30 or 40%, simply because there's never been any evidence of that. I mean, blacks just haven't voted that way. For 50 plus years. And I don't think Trump is the one to change it. Even as bad as things have gotten, I don't think Trump is we had Jimmy Carter. We had Jimmy Carter. All right, guys. So there's a track record there. Now, having said that, I do believe that Trump will get a bump if he is indeed the nominee, and I think he will be. Obviously, the South Carolina primary is coming up. I almost forget about Nikki Haley now. I'm assuming most of America does. So we'll see what happens. See what happens with the South Carolina primary. But this chick is 30 points down. All right. So and the polls have been surprisingly accurate. All right. I've been wrong about that. They've been surprisingly accurate. So anyway, these guys are getting their reputations back. So I don't suspect that things are gonna go well. But all of that to say, listen. We can't rely on the black vote. I do believe Trump will get a bump, but I think you're looking at a bump of anywhere from 3, maybe as high as 8. Yeah, I mean maybe, but I'm thinking 15 points. All right, I'm thinking Trump gets 15 points, which will be huge. But something that you have to consider when it comes to the black vote: where do most blacks live? We mostly live in urban communities. All right, or we live in high density blue or Democratic areas. All right, so even if Trump gets 40 or 50% of the vote, theoretically, that would be great because it will hurt Democrats because I'm assuming if they would vote for Trump, they would vote down ticket. It would hurt Democrats locally. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And I really think that's what we should be striving for. But when you think of the Electoral College and where a lot of blacks live, they're not going to have, or we're not going to have, as big of an impact as many people say. Unfortunately, we've shot ourselves in the foot for too long to have the type of pull on the national level that we should have. And plus, we've been killing our babies in the name of being pro-choice. And that's exactly why Democrats have to import illegal aliens. Gabe, you know what? I'm going to hold off on that Bill Gates video. But what I do want to play, if you will get that one ready, is the dudes pretending to be girls playing basketball. And I just want to close out with this story on men breastfeeding. And we'll try to get George Papadopoulos on later in the week and his wife to talk about this political espionage story. Let me just give you the gist of it from Fox News. A journalist known best for publishing the Twitter files and his work chronicling the Occupy Wall Street protests claimed in a new Substack report he was privy to evidence of an Obama-era political spying campaign. They say political espionage, quote unquote, not unlike the one is purported to target Donald Trump. Long suspected, Matt Taibbi, who published the report with fellow Twitter Files journalist Michael Schellenberger and reporter Alex Gutentag, further told Fox News the narrative of Trump-Russia collusion had the same hallmarks of the Bush-era Iraqi weapons of mass destruction claims. On Jesse Waters' primetime, host Jesse Waters covered the content of the report extensively, reporting Obama-era CIA Director John Brennan asked English-speaking U.S. allies to target the Trump campaign in 2016 and that foreign intelligence services were offered a list of 26 Trump world figures who could be bumped or encountered by intelligence assets. And Waters surmised one such individual was George Papadopoulos, who we'll try to get on, a former campaign staffer who later pleaded guilty to lying to federal investigators amid a probe in which he was approached while abroad by operatives who offered, quote unquote, dirt on Democratic challenger Hillary Clinton. All right, so that's just a wet your whistle. I've already talked about how the CIA started the Russia collusion hoax, so we'll get into that. But here's what I want to do. I want to play this video of the dudes pretending to be girls playing basketball, and I want to talk about this last story of male breastfeeding. So here's the video. Some dudes pretending to be chicks playing basketball, putting their genitals all in the face of women. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Guys, all of this is a symptom. All of these trans issues, men pretending to be women, all of this is basically a war on truth. That's what it's about. That's why the left wants to get rid of God and replace it with government, because and then what happens? What happens? They get to determine, and when I say they, I mean the political elite, they get to determine what truth is. They get to determine that 2 + 2 = 5. That's what they want to be able to do. Because if they have the power to do that, then they know that they can control you. But as long as you have truth on your side, and as long as you hold on to truth, the left cannot destroy you. And I cannot make that. All of this other stuff, they're just symptoms of a greater disease. The war on truth. Let's roll the video. Man. That chick that had no. Look at that. Look at that. What? Yeah. Yeah. Look at how big that dude is. He's got a ponytail. And so he gets to pretend like he's a woman. Some dad should have been on that freaking court pushing that fool down. Now, this is, and I don't know that I should even be mad at him. What about the adults that are allowing this to happen? This is insane. This is insanity. Nobody should stand for this. There is no way. If my daughter was playing sports, I would have sat there and let some dude, she used to play volleyball for a little bit. There's no way I would have let a dude sat there and spike on my daughter and break her freaking face. Man, honestly, I don't know who's worse. The trans movement or the parents that are continuing to let this nonsense happen, and the teachers and the coaches and the principals. So sick of this crap. All right, this is from Daily Wire. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this story. I mentioned it on Officer Tatum. I should have shared it with the legal immigrants. Guys, the colonization of America is here. Just real quickly, San Francisco admits first non-citizen to elections board. An illegal immigrant, a lady by the name of Kelly Wong, an immigrant rights advocate, is believed to be the first non-citizen appointed to the commission. The San Francisco, again, has appointed a non-citizen to its elections commission for the first time. This is the colonization of America. You can't just pass this story over. Everything they're doing in California, they want to do nationwide. This is the colonization of America. You get it? You stole it. If you love it, you're wrong because you love an evil country. So let's bring the people in that hate this country. The only reason America is rich, this is what the left believes, is because we've plundered everywhere else around the world. And so we're just going to let the illegals come in and take it over and colonize us. That's what's happening. An illegal alien gets to sit on an elections board, a lady by the name of Kelly Wong, the first non-citizen appointed to the commission, at a swearing-in ceremony administered by Board of Supervisors President Aaron Peskin on Wednesday at San Francisco City Hall. Dozens of people gathered to commemorate. I hope their houses are taken over by illegals. I really do. Only way these people will learn. All right, now, so just watching that video of the dude that probably tore up this chick's back for life as he's squabbing with her for the basketball. The dude looks like he can dunk and put his genitals all in her face when he does it. And yet he's sitting on the court with her. Look how powerful he was. Snatched the ball from her like he was taking the basketball from a baby and injured her in the process. Now you got this story. British hospitals say milk from men equal to mother's breast milk for babies. These people are evil. These people are evil. All right, this from the Daily Wire. A British trust that supervises numerous hospitals issued a letter claiming that milk produced by men with the aid of ingested hormones is as good for babies as breast milk from their mothers. Let me just say this before I go on. If you happen to be a man pretending to be a woman that's breastfeeding a child, you belong in jail. You belong in general population, okay? And you can be treated in that jail. But if you're a man that's breastfeeding a baby, you belong in jail. That is sick. You're a freaking pervert. And honestly, I do believe that even those that have a mental disorder realizes this crosses the line. Men have erections, all right? Let's not beat around the bush. Do you think a baby I hate to be grotesque, but I've got to be. Because I want to paint an image. Do you think a baby sucking on a man's nipple is not going to cause that man to get an erection? He's not a woman. Every single one of these people involved deserves the death penalty as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I mean it. Dr. Rachel James, the medical director of the University of Sussex Hospital NHS Trust, which was the first British trust to use terms such as chest feeding, quote unquote, and birthing parent, wrote a letter last August to an organization called Children of Transitioners, in which she claimed that, quote, the term human milk, which she called the ideal food for infants, is meant to be neutral and is not gender biased. She's an idiot. She also stated medications are sometimes used to induce lactation, similar to the natural hormones which encourage lactations to develop when the baby is newly born, although occasionally some people are able to induce lactation without hormonal treatment. The evidence which is available demonstrates that the milk is comparable to that produced following the birth of a baby, close quote. She added that, quote, staff further clarify that the term human milk is meant to be neutral and is not gender biased. Close quote. First off, there aren't genders, there's sexes. You're either a male or a female. Gender is fluid. The left has done this on purpose so that they can say there's 72 genders when there's only two sexes, male or female. That's it. That's all there ever will be. I can go on, but this story is just so sickening, man. Again, I don't even believe that people struggling with gender dysphoria believe this story is right. You know why? Because it wasn't a problem before. These sick, evil, twisted doctors are figuring out ways to make money and to legitimize what isn't true. Men can't be women. When men can't breastfeed, men shouldn't be breastfeeding, and those that do belong in jail. We'll close it out. I can't even take this crap anymore. I'm sorry, man. I can't even take this crap anymore. Listen, if you do nothing else, speak the truth. Don't be silenced. Speak the truth. We can't be silent anymore. A lot of people are talking about all these things that they can and should do to win 2024. We got to win the country too, not just elections. And one of the ways in which you can do it, don't be silent. Refuse to be silent. Refuse to say that, don't let anyone tell you that a man can be a woman and vice versa. Don't let anyone ever convince you that a man breastfeeding a baby is okay. It's never going to be okay. That is sick. That is evil. That is disgusting. I don't give a flip how freaking insane you are. All right, guys. God, man. Keep doing good. Part of doing good is telling the truth and speaking the truth, not going over the cliff with everyone else. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.